Okay, we have made it to July 31st. None of us have been traded. We're still here for Red Sox Now, presented by FanArch here on YouTube. I'm your host, Mike Antonellis. I'll be on TV tonight for the Worcester Red Sox when they take on Lehigh Valley. It's going to be pretty cool tonight on Nesson. We'll be on the big Nesson tonight. Tom Caron and his team, they're doing a live trade deadline show, and they're going to send it right to us at 6:45. We think we might have a little bit of banter back and forth with the studio at Nesson to talk about some trades since Blaze Jordan was traded. I don't know, but it's going to be kind of a cool night, so I'm looking forward to that. And Aaron Nola is pitching for Lehigh Valley. And, just a quick thing, I would have bet $1,000 yesterday that Andrew Painter was not going to be traded by the Phillies, but all of you would have known that. The odds would have been minus $1 million because he pitched for Lehigh Valley at Polar Park. So that kind of knew, everybody knew if the Phillies were making a trade, he wouldn't have pitched at all if he was going to even get traded today. So that was kind of out of the bag. Well, I mean, we all knew that. So thank you for watching. We had a great show yesterday. I think we got over 100 comments, even with mine. And like I tell you, guys and gals, I'll respond as you see my personal YouTube. And feel free to follow me on that. I'm starting to do 5-minute updates on the Red Sox there. If you see the Red Sox Now icon, that's part of our team that will respond to you as well. We want you to subscribe. We want you to keep making comments and like the shows. We will add maybe 4 comments or 5 comments starting tomorrow. Maybe do less. I'll do less talk and more view. That's what I want ultimately. And love the interaction. Love the community we're building. You guys and gals are awesome. I love our back and forths. We have a lot of fun, and I appreciate it. So just to let all of you know who are watching at a different time, I am recording this in the morning. There are probably going to be trades, and you're going to be like, how did you miss that? Because we record these. So this is not live. You probably already knew that. All right, let's get to the first topic. This was a goal that I put out there to try to ease your pain from the movie Field of Dreams, right? Eases pain, is that the line? I'll have to show all of you when I had to dress up in funny clothes at Hadlock Field in Portland and recite lines from Field of Dreams. You probably can find it. I love doing that. That we'll do a whole show on that. Well, that will be an off-season thing. If we can incorporate some video, that'd be awesome. But to ease your pain, I said after the break, if the Red Sox could do this, 6-6 or 5-7, I would take those in a minute. That way, when you have a big goal like that and you have some bad games like they did against the Phillies and Cubs, okay, as long as we can get to see that gold at the end of the rainbow. And the Red Sox certainly did that with back-to-back great series against the Twins and Dodgers. Let's have some perspective here. The American League is pretty wide open. There are a lot of teams that aren't playing great right now. But I think it's a combination of a lot of things. You know, pitching is harder to get with more teams. The schedule's different. You're going to play different teams. So you're playing all the teams, right? You might not, in other years, you're not going to play Milwaukee, the Phillies, the Cubs, the Dodgers. So you're playing all the division leaders. And there isn't many teams over 500. I think that, and Commissioner Manfred spoke about that right away. He said the balanced schedule is going to make it more competitive. I thought and he's right. I mean, I think they're doing it more because it's good to have Ohtani and the Red Sox and the Cubs and Yankees play everywhere. It makes a lot of money. There were tons of Dodger fans. It's good for business. And I have, again, I've talked about this, but I have no problems, and I like it. I like seeing the players come in. But the goal was accomplished, and the Red Sox went to work. Quick turnaround. Bale looked amazing. Stuff was moving all over the place to me. Durant had a great game. Roman Anthony just keeps getting better and better. That leadoff spot, man, was I wrong? I mean, I just thought speed at the top. I still think you could do both, but let's leave it alone because he can, and we saw this in Worcester a lot. He doesn't chase. I think he took one bad swing in Worcester, and we were all like, what's wrong with him? And that was AAA, but he translated it perfectly to the big leagues. And you'll always look for chemistry in a lineup. And they want Roman Anthony probably going to be their best hitter. When him and Bregman, they want him getting that extra at bat, which had happened the other night against Duran, and he got a go-ahead RBI hit. That's kind of what the new age lineup, you have your best hitters right away, which is Anthony and Bregman. But then you have Duran at third, who monster game, Story. And I know we get on Story, but man, let's go back to Kike Hernandez playing shortstop. I will take less offensive times for a guy that plays shortstop the way he does. But a great overall day for the offense. They took care of business. They finished 6-6 before the break. They're 5 games out of a playoff spot. Out of the division. There is only 7 teams in the American League over 500. You're one of them. You're right behind the Yankees. You're a game behind the Yankees, who had a miserable month, which will happen. They've had injuries. And you're that second wild card position with Seattle and Texas now tied. Cleveland 2.5 back, Kansas City 3 back, Tampa 3 back. It's interesting. What will those clubs do? I think that's the most intriguing thing. I think Texas is going to do some stuff, but does Cleveland, Kansas City, Tampa, the Angels probably not. And in Minnesota, I saw some of their fans were only 5.5 back. Well, does that look like a good club? Sometimes you go on how your club's playing. So they've obviously sold. We don't really know. I think the Angels probably are too. What will Tampa, Kansas City, and Cleveland do? They hold some cards. In the National League, Milwaukee is kind of going under the radar. One of the best teams in baseball. The best team. The Cubs, Phillies, we know. I told you about Dombrowski. We all knew that. San Diego's won 5 in a row. That's why it's interesting. What do they do? And then Cincinnati's only 3 back. The Cardinals are sellers, and it looks like San Francisco. So basically in the NL, it's really just Cincinnati. What do they do today? So now that stretch is over. And I said we'll learn a lot about a lot of things. And I think we have. There's pretty much just Cincinnati that might go for it. That's it in the NL. And in the AL, we'll see today. We'll see who sells. It's going to be interesting. If I was a Cleveland fan and you sell a 2.5 out of a playoff spot, I'd be awfully mad. But this happens a lot. Teams don't think they have a chance, and they try to fold. And if it's a tough balance, because Stephen Kwan and Shane Bieber could probably get them a lot. But that is a tough message at 2.5 back. And same with Kansas City. I don't think Kansas City's doing anything after they re-signed Lugo. Tampa's really good at buying and selling. They're the one team that can do that. They're good. They're really good at that. Okay, I know you're chomping at the bit. Chomping. Before we get to this trade, I thought the reliever market is definitely different than last year. People went, except I know the Mets, they did give up 3 players to get an 8th inning guy, and people, they got a really good 8th inning guy. And their bullpen, they got Helsley as well. They gave up a lot, but you got 2 legit relievers. And here's the difference, like I've told you, a lot of the guys that win trades yesterday for relievers, Blade Tidwell is a really good starter that's at the upper levels. The Red Sox don't have that yet. Well, they have Early and Sandlin. They haven't pitched at AAA. So if you look at what the team's got, that tells you a lot. You had no chance with the Duran deal. And don't go and tell me this equates to no, it doesn't. It's what the Twins wanted. The Twins obviously wanted a catcher. They got an 18-year-old catcher. 2 of the top 5 prospects in the system, and they got Mick Abel, who has been the top pitching prospect in their system for a while, that's already pitched in the big leagues a little bit, and has got a 5-pitch mix, and that guy is legit. You don't have that. So what Minnesota wanted, you didn't have. You don't have a catcher like that in the system. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago with the Yankees having a catching prospect that we saw at Polar Park, Rafael Flores, a legit top prospect catcher. Those positions get you a lot. Toolsy guys. But Mick Abel, and we look at sometimes the amount of players. You got to look at the quality. The Phillies gave the Twins, and he's 18, I know he's an A-ball, but it's a top catcher, which those are hard to find. That guy could have been a top draft pick, but he's an international guy. And you got Mick Abel, who is really good. He's been good. You know, he struggled a little bit in the big leagues, but for Philly, you got a guy that you control, and it makes no sense in the world to say what the Phillies did was too much. They don't have a closer. And they gave up two guys, just two prospects, to get a position they don't have for a team that's ranked in the 20s in bullpen ERA. I thought maybe they'd have to give up more, and maybe they will today. But then we go to the trade the Red Sox made, trade number 1. Steven Matz, right off the bat. He's been there. He's an older guy. Those guys you need. Because I do think the Red Sox are going to be in the postseason. You need guys like this. He throws strikes. Now, we're going to go to the Baseball Savant page and go through all the advanced stuff, which that's great and all that. But they want more than that. He is going to be a mentor, another older guy who's been there. He's been a starter. He's made 2 starts this year. I don't know if he'll do that. I doubt it. You know, he's only been 1 inning for the last 10, 11 games. But it makes a huge difference having these guys, the older guys. And he's good. And you gave up Blaze Jordan, a position. I love Blaze. Great player in Worcester this year. But he's not a great runner. And he plays third base. He can play a little first. I don't think he's the defensive player Bregman is. So his path to the big leagues is he got to hit, and he's got to hit a lot. You know, if you're not a great runner and not a great... And third base is a little bit different. You know, Bregman was elite in 3 categories. Average, power, defense, arm. You know, will Blaze turn into that? I don't know. He could, but it's one player. And I'm absolutely fine with it at a position that you don't need. Now, you could say, well, we could have used that for something else. I think Chris Murphy's getting traded. You're not going to have 5 lefties in the bullpen, and unless they're starting Mats, but I don't think so. I know I've seen that. People have thrown that out there. I don't think so. But Chris Murphy's value is changed because he's pitched efficiently in the big leagues. But these are the kind of deals. No one liked Steven Pearce when Dombrowski traded for him. No one liked that. These guys make a difference. These little trades, and we got a lot more time. So I am all aboard on that. That's step number 1, and I think the Red Sox will be very active. I get it. The offense will always make the cover, but you know how I am, and I'm annoying about it with the pitching, and I don't care. I'll continue to be annoying about it. Annoying. Your ERA was number 1 in the American League in July. Number 2 in baseball. I never would have guessed this. The Marlins led ERA in July at 2.60. Red Sox at 2.86. Right behind them were the Rangers. The top 5 teams in ERA in the month of July are all playoff teams. Not surprising. Yankees were 30th. They were near the bottom. But you had a 2.86 ERA. So we go crazy about the lineup. Every day, lineup. This 17-7 in July. 16 of your last 22. And you're way better on the mound this year, especially that bullpen. Cora's talked about it. It's not even a competition between last year and this year. That bullpen last year was horrible, and it's why you got robbed in that deal. Right? This year's completely different. You have relievers. Last year, you had to go out and give up 4 players to get Lucas Sims and Luis Garcia. You gave up volume to get nothing. I would have kept Ryan Zefferjon, and I said that at the time. Wish I was doing the show. Completely different. It's a completely different situation. Now to your fantastic comments from Wednesday's show. The Quinn Priester move was hands down the biggest mistake Breslow has made so far. Yeah, at JH Pock. But at the time, all of you liked it. A lot of you did. I know you did because you got the draft pick and you got prospects and we're building. So what? You didn't have, at the time, I had people tell me, well, they have a lot of depth with starters. I'm like, so what? And no, they don't. They didn't have a lot of quality depth. This was a 40-man arm. And I told J.H. Pock, I was in the manager's office talking to Chad Tracy, which we do every day. And I saw the trade on my phone. I couldn't believe it. And I was with Jim Kane, one of our broadcasters, and we left. And we're both like, what's going on? Like, we're trying to win this year, right? Like, that's a guy that if something happens, he's on your 40-man. And he had shown pretty good stuff. So yeah, that was disappointing. But again, what did that, and I've said this before, but for those who don't watch, what did that tell you Milwaukee thought of him? And that's been something that I've tried to push here. We are too into the MLB pipeline prospect book that's how general managers make decisions. Priester wasn't in any prospect book. He wasn't in the big leagues. Milwaukee thought pretty highly of them to give up a first-round pick. Well, they had injuries. I get that they had injuries at the time. They probably didn't have to do that, give up a first round. They gave you 2 prospects and a first-round pick for a 40-man guy in AAA who is going to be one of their best starters when it's all said and done. So, again, different value, different faces, different places. Owners get involved with this. So, yeah. But you know what? Breslow's going to make mistakes. He made a lot of good decisions in this offseason. Right? I know we're obsessed with the trade deadline, but you can make moves in the offseason, which he did. You brought in Bregman, Crochet, and Chapman. Just think about that. Those are 3 cornerstone players. And if you can only get in the, and we'll get it, I want to get to the comment because it ties into this, so I'm cutting myself up. At Brent Bell 7235, would you bypass a trade for Yandy or Horn? Is Campbell trending to an internal solution at first? No, not for this year. You can't go down that road again, because if it doesn't work out, that would just not be good, right? You can't hope that he works out. He's hitting in AAA. I mean, AAA's AAA. Does not correlate to the big leagues. It doesn't. I mean, even, Roman Anthony, you still had to see it. You had a good feeling, but not those 2 options when you're trying to win a World Series. If you are out of it, yes, absolutely. At Lucas Mello 9576. We got to start giving awards for handles. That's a pretty good one. That's probably your name, but I like that. Remember the Mellow Yellow drink? I like that. Say the Red Sox don't make any moves at the deadline given their current wild card position. Who does the magnifying glass turn to if they don't make the playoffs again? Breslow for not improving the roster. Core for having another losing record in the second half with a slightly above average roster. Good question. I say no to Breslow because he did improve the roster dramatically. And I think like I said, we get a little obsessed with the deadline, which I get. We want all these big moves. But if you are a team that is pretty good at the break and then you can't make the playoffs without making any moves, you're probably not that great of a team to begin with. I want the moves to be in the offseason. I want the trade deadline to enhance your club with what they're doing right now. This is a way better. I don't even care what the record now to last year, to the same amount of games might be the same. I don't even care. It's a way better team. They got better players, right? It's pretty obvious. So, no, not in Breslow's second year. He did a lot to improve this roster. He's still inheriting a lot of other stuff, and he wants to put his paintbrush on this club. And he's done that. Heim probably doesn't trade Devers. Might not have signed Bregman. And that's the owner's call too. Might not have signed Chapman. That might have been something he didn't want to do. But he made a lot of moves. He was the one that put Anthony in the big leagues, that made a tough decision to get rid of Devers to really make the path for Roman Anthony. But they are going to make moves. And this question was yesterday. They made one. But that question is too black and white for me, because they could make all these moves and they could get a bunch of injuries. If they get some injuries, let's say it's just, but if the players don't play well, it's okay. And I know we don't do this anymore. It's okay to say they didn't perform. We never say that anymore. It's always the manager. It doesn't matter. If all the guys didn't perform, we'd blame Pete Fatsy, we'd blame Andrew Bailey. We don't ever blame players. Players have become untouchable for some reason. I don't get that. But yeah, if they now, and it's not really the second half to me. The second half has kind of already started. I mean, you've played 110 games. You have 52 games left. So I would take it from game 82. I mean, that's the second half to me. I don't count after the All-Star break as the second half. Halves are half of 162. So how have they played game 82? Yeah, if they go into September with a massive collapse. But what if they make all these moves and it just doesn't work out? It's okay to say that things just didn't work out. I know we won't do that. But if they get all the pieces, I think that blame on the manager would be if things got kind of crazy clubhouse, and it hasn't. That's a tough thing when you trade your manager. That can have, Devers. I think it tells you what the players thought of that. There was no backlash. Nobody cared. Nobody said anything. They pretty much, there was kind of, you could tell in the body, maybe a few guys, but I'm going to just say, if you don't play well in the second half and you make all these moves, maybe the players didn't perform. But it should be fun. Can't wait to talk about all the trades that are going to happen in the big leagues on Friday when we do another episode of Red Sox Now presented by FanArch. We went a little bit longer today, which I don't mind. We love your comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social @TheRadioMike, and happy trade deadline day.